Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Wednesday, July 26th. This is Gina McGuire. Through today, we will continue to see showers and thunderstorms across the Great Basin. However, moisture has now increased really in all areas that will see higher humidity and some chances for wetting rains. The heavier wetting rains today will still occur across the southern, eastern, and half of the Great Basin, but still, even in areas further north, we will see that higher humidity with chances for wetting rain. Drier air does move in Thursday and Friday, and then thunderstorms quickly return by the weekend. Over the last 24 hours, you can see the significant amount of lightning across mainly Nevada into western Utah and up into Idaho yesterday. We did have some moisture with these. Some areas saw the higher humidity and some wetting rain, especially over the Arizona Strip, southern and eastern Nevada, and also over parts of western Nevada. However, again, over northern Nevada up into Idaho, these were still pretty spotty, and we did see significant outflow winds that were problematic for our ongoing incidents. Over the last 24 hours, here is our Great Basin fire activity with light initial attack and 21 new fires reported. You can see on the map the red circles are the fires in the last 24 hours, with the open circles being our current large fire activity. Over the last 7 days, the image on the left shows the precipitation mainly focused over the southern and eastern half of the Great Basin, which has been above normal for this time of year. Further north, much lighter amounts of precip in some areas have not seen any precipitation in the last 7 days. Over the last month, also some areas of southern Idaho, northern Nevada, and northern Utah have been dry for the last 4 weeks, with again moisture associated with the monsoon concentrated over southern Nevada, the Arizona Strip, into southern and eastern Utah. How this has affected our current ERCs. With the moisture surge we've seen over the last several days, ERCs have been decreasing, especially across Utah and the southern and eastern half of Nevada, but even now over northern and western Nevada, ERCs have come down to just below the 70th percentile. However, across Idaho, although ERCs have been slightly decreasing, they are still well above normal and near records over parts of the central Idaho mountains. Current 10-hour fuel moisture is definitely better than what we've seen in recent days, as that moisture has pushed further north, and now 10-hour fuel moistures are between about 5 and 6% over northern Nevada and southwest Idaho, and still much higher as you go further south and east. The satellite loop from this morning shows low pressure still over northern California. This will start lifting slowly north as we move through the next couple of days, and moisture surge will continue across the Great Basin with really thunderstorms expected area-wide, but will be on the wetter variety. As we move into tomorrow, drier air will start pushing in, and that will bring a decrease in lightning activity from west to east briefly across the Great Basin. You can barely see in the bottom left of this image the northern portions of 2 tropical systems in the eastern Pacific, and this will be a player for moisture as we move into the weekend for the Great Basin. Now here's the weather pattern and significant fire potential expected for today. Again, still moisture in place across the Great Basin for those wetter variety scattered thunderstorms, with no high risk issued for today, as again most areas have seen some moisture at least move north over the last couple of days. There still are some drier spots in the central Idaho mountains, but lightning coverage might be a little bit more isolated. Relative humidity today will drop into the teens to near 20% over the western and northern side of the Great Basin and much higher further east. And you can see the image on the right is where we're expecting those thunderstorms, again generally area-wide, with still decent chances for wetting rains over parts of the northern half of Nevada into southern Idaho. As we move into Thursday, we see a drier punch of air move into the western side of the basin, and this will decrease lightning activity across Nevada and into southwest Idaho. Still, we'll have some thunderstorms to deal with on the northern and east side of the basin. And again, no significant fire potential expected associated with the weather on Thursday. As you can see, with that drier air moving in, relative humidity decreases to between about 10 and 15% over western Nevada into far southwest Idaho, with still elevated relative humidities further east. And the picture on the right shows where we're expecting those showers and thunderstorms, again mainly over the eastern half of Idaho into Utah and far eastern Nevada, with much drier conditions further west. On Friday, we still have some dry air in place over far northwest Nevada into southern Idaho, and still wetter conditions over southern and eastern Utah, with no high risk issued on Friday. However, we will continue to see thunderstorms return to parts of western and central Nevada on Friday, as you can see from the image on the right. These will still be fairly isolated, but will likely be on the drier side, as still dry air is in place at the mid and upper levels. We will continue to monitor this. However, these areas have seen a little bit more significant precipitation in recent days. As you can see from the relative humidity image on the left, still do have dry conditions over much of the western half of Nevada into southwest Idaho, with humidity around 10 or 12%. The overall forecast amount of precipitation over the next 3 days mainly focused over the eastern two-thirds of the Great Basin, where again that wetting rain will be tied to thunderstorm activity and be somewhat spotty and variable in amounts. However, some areas will see over a half inch of precipitation. As we move into the weekend, moisture will start to increase again, a little bit more widespread than what we'll see on Friday and a little bit further north. You can see thunderstorms returning to much of Nevada into southern Idaho, and we have issued high risk for areas of western and northwest into northern Nevada and into southwest Idaho for that return of thunderstorms that will likely initially be on the drier side. It's these areas of the basin that have not seen much precipitation with this most recent event, therefore will dry out fairly quickly over the next couple of days leading into Saturday. You can also start to see Hurricane Hilary now off the Baja coast. This will start to move north over the weekend into next week, and this will bring moisture to the basin. As we move into Sunday, thunderstorms continue really area-wide. We have increased our fire potential with high risk over parts of southwest and central Idaho as those thunderstorms again initially return to the north in areas that have not seen much precipitation over the last several days. Further south, we'll continue to see scattered thunderstorms over the rest of the Great Basin, but these should be a little bit wetter, at least over the eastern half of Nevada into Utah, where you can see that deeper moisture. By Monday, significant moisture now overspreads the eastern two-thirds of the Great Basin. Still, western and northwest Nevada remain on the drier side. Therefore, lightning on this western fringe may be a mix of wet and dry through the weekend into early next week. We have not continued our high risk past Saturday for western and northwest Nevada, but we will continue to monitor this as we still could see drier type thunderstorms. Now you can see the remnants of Hurricane Hilary is now off the southern California coast, and this moisture will continue pushing north, especially as we go into Tuesday, and we may see some more significant areas of wetting rains as we move into early next week, at least for the eastern two-thirds of the Great Basin, and we'll continue to see how this moisture overspreads western areas that have been on the drier side. Overall forecast amount of precipitation for the next 7 days is very similar to what you saw in the 3-day as far as the pattern over the eastern two-thirds of the Great Basin, but these amounts could change significantly depending on the amount of remnant tropical moisture we receive early next week. The 8 to 14-day outlook takes us into the end of the first week of August with above normal temperatures still expected over much of the west, and now above normal precipitation is increasing as we move through the first week of August over Nevada and Utah, and that will largely play a role in how much tropical moisture we see and where the monsoon continues to take place. That concludes our briefing for today. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us. Thank you for listening.